As Christmas rapidly approached, Max stood in the school hallway, chatting excitedly with Zoe. His voice was full of energy as he recounted his last few months of saving every bit of his allowance for the perfect presents. "I've been working hard for this," he said with a grin. "I'm gonna spoil my whole family this year. I've got the best gifts picked out for everyone." Zoe, however, just smiled and nodded. Max continued, his thoughts quickly shifting. "But man, you should see what I want for Christmas. There's this new gaming console and a bunch of new tech I've been eyeing." He paused, the excitement in his voice building. Christmas is all about getting the coolest stuff, right? Zoe gave a light laugh, but she wasn't following his enthusiasm. "Well, actually, I've already done most of my shopping," she said casually. "Target had some great deals on Black Friday, so I'm pretty much done. Now I can just relax and enjoy being with my family." Max looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "Oh yeah? So what are you gonna do? Open gifts all day?" Zoe smiled. "We'll probably go to church. It's something we do every year." Max blinked, the words taking a moment to sink in. "Church?" He stared at her, utterly confused. "Why in the world would you go to church on Christmas?" Zoe shrugged. "Well, my family is Christian, and Christmas is about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ." Max stared at her for a beat, then burst into laughter, shaking his head. "You've got to be kidding. My family's Christian too, but we sure ain't going to church. Christmas is all about giving and getting the best gifts." "Zoe, you're crazy! Wait until I tell everyone what you just said." Max laughed and walked away, leaving Zoe shaking her head with a knowing smile. Later, as the bell rang and students settled into their desks for class, Max couldn't help but still be amused by what Zoe had told him. Miss Juju, their teacher, began calling the roll, and Max's hand shot up as soon as she reached his name. "Yes, Max?" Miss Juju asked, a patient smile on her face. Max stood up, practically bursting with laughter. "Guess what? Zoe just told me that Christmas is about Jesus," he said, his voice full of mocking disbelief. "Can you believe it?" His laughter echoed through the room, but as he glanced around, his grin slowly faded. No one else was laughing. In fact, everyone looked uncomfortable. Even Zoe, sitting across the room, was quietly watching him with a calm, proud smile. Miss Juju raised an eyebrow, unruffled. "Max," she said, her tone steady, "Zoe is actually right." Max blinked, caught off guard by her response. "What do you mean?" he stammered, now feeling his cheeks flush. "Christmas," Miss Juju explained, "is about the birth of Jesus Christ. The holiday began as a celebration of his arrival, but over time, people have focused more on the presents and the commercial side of things." Max's mouth went dry. He turned to look at Zoe again, who was still smiling a knowing smile. Max's stomach twisted as the weight of her words hit him. His laughter from earlier seemed ridiculous now. In a rush, he felt embarrassed, like he'd just learned that something important had been staring him in the face all along and he'd completely missed it. As the class went on, Max couldn't shake the lesson he'd learned. Maybe Zoe wasn't so crazy after all. He thought about Christmas differently now, about the real meaning behind it. And for the first time, he began to wonder what it might feel like to celebrate Christmas, not just by receiving, but by embracing what it truly represents.